Picture tonight with no mattress under you, no pillow, no blanket, no roof, no locked door, just open ground, and no guarantee that the spot where you shut your eyes would still be quiet by sunrise. For almost all of human history, that wasn't a nightmare. It was Tuesday. And yet, somehow, our earliest ancestors still slept deeply enough to dream, to heal, to keep functioning day after day. How they managed that isn't a small detail of prehistory. It's a hidden thread running through the entire story of who we became. We treat beds like they've always existed, like furniture that simply comes with being human. But for the overwhelming majority of our species' timeline, there was no bed. Even long after people started building shelters, a raised place to sleep was still rare, almost a privilege. Before all of that, staying asleep wasn't about softness. It was about outsmarting the night. The first problem was even simpler than comfort. Where could a person safely close their eyes at all? Early humans couldn't just lie down once they felt tired. Once the sun dropped, everything changed. Predators woke up. The air turned cold. Insects came out in force. And sometimes the biggest danger wasn't an animal at all. It was other people. Choosing badly could cost a life. So our ancestors learned to read ground like a language. They looked for slightly raised earth, places rain wouldn't pool. They wanted a clear line of sight, somewhere a threat couldn't sneak up unseen. They stayed near water, but never too near. Flooding and thirsty predators made the shoreline its own kind of trap. Every single evening meant solving a puzzle most of us will never have to think about. Then came the next question. What do you actually lie down on? Bare dirt sounds obvious. It isn't. Soil pulls heat out of a sleeping body fast. Stones dig into shoulders and hips all night long. Damp ground breathes sickness. And crawling through loose earth and rotting leaves, parasites everywhere. Evidence from the ground itself shows humans were solving this far earlier than most people assume. At one striking site in South Africa, roughly 200,000 years old, researchers uncovered layers of grass and plant matter arranged with real care, an early sleeping surface. Some of those plants happened to naturally repel insects. This wasn't random vegetation grabbed in the dark. It looks chosen, which means something quietly extraordinary was happening. These people weren't only surviving the night, they were making it better. Someone had to notice that a particular plant kept the bugs away. Someone else had to remember it and pass it on. Generation after generation, that small piece of knowledge became routine. Sleep, it turns out, was already becoming a kind of technology. Then fire changed everything. Long before any mattress, humans discovered something far more powerful for a good night's rest, a controlled flame. Warmth mattered, especially on freezing nights, but that wasn't even the biggest gift. Fire kept most predators at a distance. Lions, hyenas, the big cats, and pack hunters. Flames made them cautious. Smoke drove insects off, and light stretched the evening, letting people stay awake together instead of collapsing the instant darkness fell. Many researchers believe this shift reshaped human society itself. Around a fire, people traded stories about the day's hunt. Parents taught children. Bonds tightened. Problems got talked through. Language may have blossomed in exactly these quiet hours, once survival finally loosened its grip for a while. So here's the strange part. Before humans ever built a bed, they may have invented something else first: bedtime. But fire created its own puzzle. If everyone drifted off completely, who kept watch over the flames? Total sleep for the whole group would have been reckless. Many researchers now think ancient bands staggered their sleep naturally. Some stayed up later, some rose before dawn. The Nowell owls and the early risers we still recognize today may have once kept an entire camp safer simply by never all being unconscious at the same time. What gets labeled a sleep disorder now may have once been a survival advantage. Even the shape of ancient sleep may have looked nothing like ours. We assume 8 unbroken hours has always been the standard. The historical and anthropological record tells a different story. Before electric light existed, many populations slept in a more flexible rhythm. Down shortly after sunset,
awake for a stretch in the middle of the night, and then back to sleep until morning. During that quiet waking window, people tended the fire, soothed children, sat with their thoughts, or talked softly before drifting off again. Our modern 8-hour block isn't the only way humans have ever rested. Climate shaped these habits too. In colder regions, people slept pressed close together. Shared body heat wasn't sentiment, it was physics. Every person nearby became another small source of warmth. Children slept beside parents. Extended families often shared one sleeping space. The private bedroom, the one you might be sitting in right now, is a remarkably recent invention. Maybe our craving for comfort actually started as a craving for safety. Psychologists have long noticed that people sleep more soundly when they feel protected. Some need a locked door. Others reach for a heavy blanket or the simple sound of someone else breathing nearby. These quiet preferences might be echoes of instincts that formed long before walls ever existed.
And shelters? They weren't what most people imagined. Prehistoric humans didn't spend their nights tucked inside caves as often as popular imagination suggests. Caves were useful in certain regions, but they were scarce and frequently already claimed by something with claws. Instead, many groups built temporary structures from branches, leaves, hide, and wood. Nothing fancy, just enough to block the wind, hold in warmth, and soften the rain. These earliest shelters weren't houses in any modern sense. They were survival machines, built for a single purpose, getting everyone through to morning. As humans pushed into colder territory across Europe and Asia, the challenge only grew sharper. Ice Age nights could be merciless. Animal skins became essential gear. Thick fur kept sleepers insulated from frozen soil. Reindeer hide, mammoth hide, layered together, far warmer than bare earth could ever be. Bone needles let people stitch those skins into something portable. Suddenly, warmth itself could travel. Families carried their sleeping gear with them as they followed migrating herds across enormous stretches of land. Sleep adapted right alongside migration. Here's another quiet surprise found under a microscope. Scientists studying ancient campsites discovered that sleeping areas were regularly cleaned out, old plant bedding removed, fresh material laid down in its place. Cleaning your bed sounds unremarkable. Doing it 100,000 years ago? That reveals planning, organization, a working understanding that cleanliness mattered even without any concept of bacteria at all. Good sleep, it seems, required upkeep. Not every night went smoothly. Storms rolled in unannounced, fires died out, predators tested the edges of camp. Infants cried, sickness spread, injuries made rest nearly impossible. And still, generation after generation, humans kept investing effort into sleeping better. Why bother? Because sleep was never wasted time. While the body rests, the brain locks in memories, processes emotion, repairs damaged tissue, balances hormones, and readies the immune system for whatever comes next. Ancient humans knew nothing about neurons or REM cycles, but evolution understood the outcome perfectly. Groups that protected their sleep outlasted groups that didn't. Across countless generations, natural selection quietly favored anyone whose habits made the night a little safer. This may even explain our strong emotional pull toward the places we sleep. We crave familiar surroundings. Odd sounds jolt us awake instantly. Unexpected movement sets off alarm bells before we've even opened our eyes. Your bedroom feels deeply personal because some ancient part of your brain still treats sleep as one of the most exposed moments of your entire life. Then, roughly 12,000 years ago, everything shifted again. Agriculture arrived. People began staying put. Permanent homes appeared. Sleeping spaces grew steadier and more predictable. Reeds were woven into mats. Raised platforms lifted sleepers above damp ground and biting insects. Eventually, in some cultures, actual wooden bed frames emerged. The bed wasn't invented in one flash of insight. It was thousands of years of small improvements, stacked one on top of the last, built on knowledge that stretched back far into the past. Every mattress, every pillow, every quiet bedroom you've ever known traces back to someone long ago arranging grass just a little more carefully than they had the night before.
Even now, our habits carry traces of that distant world. Many of us still curl into a tight ball at night, the same posture that once conserved body heat. We still prefer dim, warm light before sleep because our brains evolved beneath sunsets, not screens. The smell of wood smoke still stirs something like comfort in people across countless cultures. Even a night camping outdoors can feel oddly soothing to people who have spent their whole lives behind four walls. Our bodies still remember a world our minds have never actually lived in. The modern bed looks so ordinary that we barely notice it, but it carries an extraordinary history inside it. Long before memory foam, long before pillows or blankets or wooden frames, there were people studying the land, gathering the softest grass they could find, discovering which plants kept the bugs away, tending fires through the darkest hours, sharing warmth with the people they trusted most, turning the most dangerous hours of the day into something just safe enough to finally close their eyes. Maybe that's the real story hiding inside every bed. It was never really about luxury. It was built because our ancestors understood something simple long before civilization ever began. Tomorrow's survival always started with tonight's rest.